Hello, socialites. It is a new season of Survivor, which means it's a new season of Survivor Social, the Survivor podcast, where we discuss Survivor with a focus on the social elements of the game. My name is Tegwyth, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Cara. Cara, how are you doing this season? How are you feeling?
I am feeling great. I'm so excited to be back podcasting, Survivor Social, talking with you. So excited to talk about this premiere episode. It's great. Loved
I
it.
know. I know. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to get into it. We do have a really special guest with us today. You may know him from the BriceandWen Presents account, and I believe he was also on maybe Survivor Philadelphia. We have Timmy Bridgeman. Timmy, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm super excited to talk about the episode. I always love Survivor season, so I'm hype. I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
Incredible. Well, wait, before we get into the episode, I do want to know, how are you feeling about the season so far? Both of you. I know we're only one episode under our belts, but what are the vibes that we're feeling?
Chaos.
Chaos? Timmy, what about you?
This season of Survivor so far feels like getting on the treadmill and it starts going super fast. So I'm ready for it. It's going off on a great pace, and I can't wait to see how it continues.
I know. I feel the exact same way. Chaos, amazing. I'm obsessed with the cast so far, and I cannot wait to talk about the episode with you all. But before we dig into the episode, make sure, as always, to like and subscribe to Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify. And as a reminder, we are live right now on a couple of different platforms. I've got people over here on TikTok, and as always, we're live on YouTube. So make sure to be active in the comments. If you have any questions, if you want to talk about something, let us know, and we would love to get into it with you guys. But let's get into the episode. I first want to start off with the name of the episode, which obviously is not something we typically talk about, but I feel like if I had known the name of the episode, I would have known what was going to happen. So the name of the episode was One Glorious and Perfect Episode, which obviously John Lovett said near the end before he was voted out. Not right before, but near it. Cara, if you had known that ahead of time, would you have maybe known what was going to happen?
I don't know. I don't know if I would have thought that because I never thought John would have been the first one to go. So I don't think I would have picked up on that at all.
I know. Timmy, what about you?
Yeah, I think if I'd known that was the title of the episode, I maybe would have had a better inkling that it might have been him, especially since he's such a big figure outside of the game. So it could have matched, and I put two and two together and, assumed it was going to be him.
Yeah. And, the premiere episode always has, a lot to do in terms of like telling a lot of people's stories really quickly, but also telling the story of what's going to happen at the very beginning of the season in this first episode. So we met a lot of people really early on. Cara, was there anybody that stood out to you in the beginning that you were like, I cannot wait to watch them in that we were shown at the very beginning?
Ooh. I can't think of one specific person, but I really just in general am excited to see this entire cast.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's kind of a lame answer, but I feel like everyone's really interesting, in their own way.
Yeah.
So.
Not lame if it's true. I totally get it. What about you, Timmy? Anybody that like popped out to you?
Yeah, one person who popped out to me was Rome. I was super excited to see him play. I thought Rome had a lot of energy, a lot of excitement, ready to do the game different than how it'd been done before. And I wanted to see if he was going to match his words and really shake up the game.
Yeah, and interesting about Rome. I don't know if you guys listened to any of the preseason interviews that happened, but Rome's was super interesting because he's somebody who actually only started watching Survivor about a year ago, like now, or maybe about a year ago when he went. No, like a year ago, like now. He hasn't been watching for that long, maybe about a year and a half. So, he binged it in 2 months and decided he wanted to be on this show so quickly. Timmy, do you think that affected the way that he's playing the game? Is anything do you think that changed anything about how he's approaching the season?
Absolutely. When you watch something so quick and consume it so fast, it kind of shows the mentality you might have when it comes to playing the game itself.
Yeah.
When you see Sandra win her first season and then see her win her second season back to back, almost, it kind of puts the picture in your brain to move just as fast and play the game at the same pace that you're watching it. So definitely it could have.
Yeah, and staying on that Rome track, Cara, do you think that he is playing harder or faster? Do you think that this affected his game? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think he's playing hard, he's playing fast, like, he's doing everything, so I don't know how it'll turn out, but
Yeah.
I guess you might as well do as much as you can with whatever time you got, so
I mean, he's doing so much,
he
and
is.
I don't know that, at the beginning I was really feeling good about where Rome was in his tribe because people really liked him. They really liked talking to him.
Mhm.
I mean, he has this great, like great voice. And I feel like he, is just so intriguing and I get why people on his tribe are so excited about him. And yet he's doing all of these things where there's a four that doesn't really want to work with him. And it was people who originally wanted to work with him who are in the four. I
Mhm.
think it's Teeny, Kashawn, Soul, and
Gen
there's somebody else.
Was it
Asia.
Genevieve? Oh,
Asia and
Asia.
Asia.
Oh.
Yes. And Genevieve's not in there either, which is crazy. But like, I don't know. Sometimes playing so hard so quickly really kind of alienates you. And I'm worried about that for him, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure. Yeah, I know he's a big
Mhm.
gamer and I'm a gamer too. Like I have a whole controller right here for those that are watching us live. So that fast-paced environment of a video
Yeah.
game might be his approach to Survivor.
Yeah, that's very
Yeah.
true. And I think, it is a game. You have to approach it as such, but I'm worried he's not going to take that social element as seriously as he is with the other elements of the game. And that somebody else who I'm feeling about like that is Gabe. And
Mm.
Gabe is actually
Yep.
doing a lot better than I thought he was going to. Which props to Gabe. He came out right out of the gate and was like, Sue, I want to work with you. Sue,
Yeah.
I know I'm kind of on a tangent now, but Sue is killing it.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like everyone's going to her. Gabe is telling her about his ally or his idol that he found, all of this stuff. But like at the beginning, Gabe even said something like, we're gonna, run things from the shadows and we're gonna let all of the other young ones, what did he say? He said gossip in the front. But that gossip is social bonds, is the things that are gonna really get people together. And I worry if you don't put any kind of like emphasis on that, then that could not be great for your game,
Yeah, you have to really, like, integrate yourself in with the other people. You can't just I feel like you can't just pick someone, be like, "This is my person, and I don't have to do anything else, like, this person has me." You have to still, like, make well with the other people, and I mean,
Yeah.
it's great he has an idol, but that can only go so far.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And I
Timmy, what do
think
you think?
the way he went about it was interesting because he came up to Sue with this preconceived notion that he wanted her to be his number one instead of maybe
Mhm.
going on a more natural route with TK, who was somebody who put forward that from the same state, so they should, maybe work together and get to know each other. And people perceive them as being close because of that. But
Mhm.
he chose to go a different route and pick Sue to be his number one. And like you mentioned, just have that be the case and not really invest in building that up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also saw Sue talk with Caroline, which I think is really interesting. They bonded a little bit about how Caroline watched Survivor with her mom, and I think Sue said that she watches Survivor with her daughter, and they kind of remind each other of her mother and her daughter. And I do think that bond is going to be a little bit tighter. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but when Gabe was saying, "Hey, I really want to work with you, and you're going to be my number one," Sue was like, "Yes, that sounds great. I would love to work with you." But when Caroline said that, I'm pretty sure Sue was like, "Absolutely, I've got you. If somebody here, if I hear your name, I'm going to tell you, all of this stuff." And it was very much a two-way street when she was talking to Caroline, but it wasn't so much a two-way street when she was talking to Gabe. Did anybody else catch up on that?
Yeah, I definitely think the Sue and Caroline relationship is gonna be way tighter than her and Gabe, and I feel like the way that Gabe went about it was just, like, kinda not almost, like, telling her, like, "We're number ones," but, like,
Mhm.
that was kinda the vibe, and I feel like with Caroline and Sue, it's more like a mutual, like, we both like each other type of relationship, which could go further.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Timmy, did
absolutely.
you
And
know
I
about that?
agree. Yeah, I agree. I think in this game and in this tribe specifically with Tuku, if each of the tribe members are pieces of furniture, I think Sue at this point is the dinner table because people are going to come to her. They're gonna, sit down, have a nice meal, think of Sue as this person who is just a part of everyday life. But Sue in this game is gonna gather all this information. And I think Sue is gonna have a greater opportunity to really make some big moves with it.
Absolutely. And another thing, another feather in Sue's hat, if you will, she also is incredibly strong. At the very beginning in that first challenge, somebody called her Superwoman, Superwoman. And I feel like this is also really good for her because she said she was worried that her age was gonna, ostracize her, put her on the outs, all of this stuff. And yet, a lot of these things, like I think almost her age is helping her out because she's strong, which is important, but she's also stands out in a way that it caught people's eye. People noticed her, they saw her, they knew that she was no nonsense, basically. And I really feel like that is helping her game in these early days of the show, of the season. And I'm really excited to see what she does with that moving forward. And I really hope that we see her, keep these bonds, keep them strong, and use them to her advantage, to get her further on. I think I would love to have her in the whole season as long as possible. I'm a Sue fan.
Yeah.
Same.
I feel like we have like, maybe I'm thinking more like Big Brother related, but I feel like there's like a new trend, or like the trend of like keeping the older people and like working with them and like teaming up with them instead of just like getting them out first. I feel like more people are receptive to working with people that aren't their age or have more life experience and stuff. So it's nice to see that everyone's getting a chance.
Totally agree. Totally agree. And it's interesting because on another tribe, they were talking about keeping the tribe strong. We saw that on the yellow tribe, on the Gata tribe. And sometimes people equate, age with not with being weaker, and not being as strong. And yet with Sue, it almost seems like her age has not only strengthened her mind, but also she's, kept her body pretty strong as well. And so I feel like if Luvu, who's blue? Blue is Tuku.
Tuku.
If Tuku goes to tribal and they want to be like, keep the tribe strong, I don't think that Sue is going to have anything to worry about. And I also think that nothing is going to, she's good socially. I feel like she's good for now, which makes me really excited.
I agree.
Makes me happy.
Right. Now let's talk a little bit about the Gata tribe, the yellow tribe. We did see them a little bit more, the other two tribes, because they were the ones that did go to tribal council. First impression, Carol, I'll start with you. What was your first impression of this tribe? Did you think they were going to be strong? Did you think they were going to be weak? Did you have anything?
Yes, I had so much faith in the yellow tribe, the Gata tribe, like, but I also am like notoriously bad for like having good reads on people in the game. So I don't know. I really thought they were going to just do great. I mean, they won the first reward challenge and then I don't know what happened to them after that.
Yeah,
they really
Timmy,
fell
same
off.
question for you.
Yeah, I was super excited. I didn't think that they would be the first tribe to lose. I actually thought that Lava was going to be in trouble just based on who was on each specific tribe. But to see them win the first challenge, as Cara mentioned, but then lose the second, it kind of reminds me that lightning doesn't strike the same place twice. And maybe they had it at the beginning, but they might not have it for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Do you think that when they saw they were on the yellow tribe, they got nervous? I feel like if I was on Survivor and I saw I was on a yellow tribe or a purple tribe, I'd be like, great. This is it. First tribal.
What is with that? Because that is so real. Like the colors are so real. There was a color that was cursed during, new school, like back before New Era. What was it? Was it orange or
purple?
something? I don't know, because this New Era, the struggle is with yellow and purple, and it's continued with yellow and purple. Like, purple has been decimated, I think, twice. Yellow has been decimated a couple of times. Plus, there have been 4 yellow tribes in New Era where the first person voted out of the season was on the yellow tribe.
That's true.
I would be scared if I was on a yellow tribe.
So it's just like, what is this trend? I also wonder, and I was talking about this with Ryan earlier, I wonder how much, like, winning that first challenge, does it actually benefit you in the long run? Like, what are the statistics with this? Because I feel like a lot of the times we see people win that first challenge and then go on to lose a lot afterwards, or just lose once or whatever. But I feel like they lose a lot afterwards. And I feel like there's got to be some stats out there, some stats people who can tell us if that's true or not, because I feel it in my bones that that's real. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be fake.
They use all their energy and then
Maybe
they just crash out for the rest
there's
of the
also
time.
something to say about like the psychology of it all. Like you winning maybe means that you're kind of resting on your laurels a little bit and you're not like putting your all. Maybe, I mean, I don't know, but that could be something. But speaking of that first challenge, how did we like this first challenge? And then after that, the non-sweat and savvy, but like the new kind of win your supplies. Timmy, I'll start with you.
I thought the first challenge being different from, you know, maybe what we saw the last couple times with it only being one tribe that's going to get these supplies at this moment. I thought that seeing them run out into the jungle, which seems to be like a new beach maybe, and also a new challenge area that we hadn't seen before, just goes to show that it's so many different parts of Survivor that we can continue to explore out there in Fiji. But I thought the challenge itself was pretty cool. Did not expect such a from behind win from Gata, which was super shocking to me. But it just goes to show, if you got that dog in you, keep trying, keep pushing, because you never know what's going to happen in the game of Survivor.
Totally get that. Cara, what are your thoughts on the first challenge?
I liked it. I liked it was different. I liked the, you know, the drone, the camera angles and everything. It was fun, like seeing that. But I also really liked that they got rid of the sweat and savvy and they implemented something else. I enjoyed that a lot. I liked the new take on it.
I don't know if I like this new non-sweat savvy. Maybe we'll call it the scavenger hunt. I thought it was fine. I liked that one person won and one person lost. That I was totally fine with. I guess what I didn't like is that people volunteered to go. I don't understand why you would volunteer for this, because here's the thing. I guess you have in your head that you're going on a journey, and if it's a journey, there might be something there for me, you know, there. My issue with this is you're not on the island, what, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours tops, and you're already volunteering to be separated from your tribe. That to me is not good. The fact that Asia did it, I don't know if Asia volunteered
or if surprising.
Yeah, Asia volunteered.
That was surprising.
Wild to me. And the fact that 3 people volunteered from the blue tribe, from Tuku, like that was shocking to me, because the thing is, I just don't get wanting to go do this, because number one, you're not on your own beach. So not only are you alone with a person that you're not going to see for a long time, if you're going to see them ever again, but you're also not even on your beach. So the people who you're working with are not even like around the corner like they were for Sweat and Savvy. They're so far away that a boat has to take you to get there. And then you're also I guess they didn't know this going in, but then coming home empty-handed is horrible. And luckily, you know, Asia was able to
got lucky.
Everyone believed it. But truly, I think if Asia was anybody else, Asia would be on the outs. But because Asia is Asia, I think it really worked out for her.
And also, I feel like Asia having Teeny was a huge help, because that was just like an instant bond between the two of them. And who knows, like, what if Asia was on the blue tribe, you know, and didn't take anything back? That might have been a completely different scenario. But I felt lucky.
So lucky. So lucky. And how do we feel about how Teeny did this? Like they really, you know, immediately told Asia, hey, I know who you are. I know who you are, and I don't want to tell anybody, because it also blew up my spot. How did we feel like Teeny handled this? Timmy, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I think their approach to it was pretty clever. I liked it because it, to me, puts them in a good place with Asia, while also keeping their own threat level under the radar. Because as they mentioned, if they go around telling everybody, hey, this is Asia, she was on this show, she did this, it shows that they're really knowledgeable themselves, and only makes it to where not only are they losing a potential ally, but they're also boosting up their own threat level. It's like a lose-lose situation at that point. So I think it was really clever for them to approach Asia and create that bond.
Absolutely. Cara, do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I agree. I think Teeny went about it the best possible way you could go about that situation. I think, because you have an ally.
My
Yeah.
concern is obviously Asia handled it well. Yes, Teeny did help. I think Teeny helped Asia so much. But my concern, and I'm glad it worked out the way it did, there is another world in which Asia realizes, hey, Teeny knows who I am. I don't want anybody to know who I am. So I'm actually going to vote Teeny out, because then if Teeny's gone, no one else will know who I am. Obviously, that's not how that worked out, but I do kind of think it was a gamble that Teeny did this, because I feel like I could have gone a very different way. Obviously, they're not going to tribal council. Like, Red's not going to tribal council, so we might not. It could still happen. I don't think it will, but I do think it was a gamble. It paid off, and I do think that, like, it was almost going to be Genevieve in the 4, and then Teeny was like, "No, let's wait for Asia. Asia's not here."
Yeah,
I think it's
I feel
lucky
like
that Asia's Asia.
It really is like a gamble, because I feel like, first of all, you don't expect to go out on Survivor and recognize someone, and then I feel like it really could go either way. I feel like if I was in that position, I'd probably go back and forth for a while if I should say something, if I should keep it to myself, tell the person, because you never know what's going to happen.
Now,
what they might think.
If you're Asia, Timmy, I'll ask you this: if you're Asia, do you just come out and say, hey, this is what I do in my free time? This is what I do? Because what if there's somebody else in the tribe who knows and just hasn't said anything?
That's a great question and a tough one, because what's the difference between you self-incriminating yourself and making yourself a bigger threat than what you are, or coming clean per se and just telling more about you? If I'm Asian in this situation, I'm going to tell you what I do for my career, which is true, but you don't need to know my hobbies if you don't already know my hobbies. And I think because of that, I'm not gonna tell them my hobbies and how much of a Survivor fan I am, and that I podcast about it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like if somebody brings it up, don't deny. I feel like it'd be very silly to deny, but you just kind of have to go with it, and be like, hey, this is what I do, or this is what I do for fun, and all of this stuff, and you just go with it. So I think Asia did the best she could in this situation, and I'm just very interested to see where this duo. I don't really think they're like a duo, but Chris. Oh my goodness. Chris commented, if I recognized any of you, I would tell the entire tribe who you are.
Boo.
Hey,
Big mistake.
right back at you, Chris.
Well, if that did happen, Asia could just do what Teeny said and be like, okay, but you listen to the podcast, you know what I do, so it's just as bad. So
Exactly. And we can start talking about Andy in this. Andy's a huge Survivor fan, and if you listen to his preseason, he also recognized Asia. So Andy knows who Asia is, and sometimes if you could say, hey, I might know a lot about Survivor, but doesn't mean I'm actually going to do everything that I wanted to do. It doesn't mean I'm actually going to perform exactly how I had in my head. Things happen differently, and I feel like there's an argument to also being able to be like, I can actually fight against this or whatever. But I think this is a very interesting thing, a very interesting dynamic that we haven't seen before.
And just to go off that tangent, because somebody is a football fan doesn't mean that they're gonna put on the suit and put on the helmet and go out there and get 18 touchdowns. No, it just means that you like it a lot. I don't think anybody would be on Survivor if they didn't like it a lot. So it kind of is a story or an excuse that doesn't really add up or make sense to make somebody a threat.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a comment on the TikTok live right now that says, it's from Mima, saying playing is different than talking about it on a podcast. Exactly. That's exactly right. And somebody else commented, is being a super fan cursed? Not necessarily. Adam Klein.
True.
Adam Klein, but there are people who are super fans. I mean, and so far Asia's seeming okay, so there are people who can be super fans. You just can't. The issue about Survivor, and the thing, I don't know if everyone knows this, but the thing is, when you go on Survivor, there's like a week where you're doing press, you're doing photos, they're doing like last minute medical evaluation stuff, they're training you about what to do in the wild and all that stuff, and you're just sitting there by yourself not talking to anybody, but seeing your competition. You're seeing these people who you're going to be playing against and with for the next 26 days. You hope. And so you're just in your head. You can't talk to anybody. All you can do is do interviews. And so I feel like if I'm out there, oh my God, I'm going to spiral. I'm a yapper. I don't know if you guys can tell. So like I would spiral and then I'd get on the beach and I would be like, I don't know what to do. I need to talk. I'm like a wound up toy needing to do a bunch of stuff. And so I just think that like the super fans maybe get in their head during that point in time. And I kind of think that that's what happens. Andy on the Yellow Tribe is a friend of Asia. Interesting. I definitely think that they know each other. Baby Andy is also he's a patron to Rob as a podcast. So, oh man. Let's talk a little bit about the Lavo tribe. I know we talked a little bit about Asia and Teeny, but let's talk about the other people on there. How are we feeling about Lavo as a unit? We've got Kashan, Genevieve, we've got Soul, who we really didn't see much of this episode. Timmy, what about you? What are you thinking about this tribe?
Yeah, I think the tribe that surprised me the most is their tribe. I didn't expect Saul, for example, to be somebody that's more socially integrated than, and like a brick house, you know? And I think that would be great for not just their challenge equity, but like, you know, him just having that better chance to stay to build up his social game because he's being kept around for challenges. I think that's a plus to his game. But because of that, if he's going to use that to build those social bonds by saying in his head, hey, I'm going to stay because we might need tribe strength, but let me build some strength of my own within the game with the bonds that I'm making. And I think he's doing that.
Cara, what are your thoughts on this tribe overall?
Yeah, I feel like going into it, I don't know. I didn't really have like that big of feelings about it. Like I didn't really know how Kashan would be. But like, I'm very pleasantly surprised by this tribe.
I totally get that. Totally agree with both of what you're both saying. Now, I think it's interesting. TK comes back with his supplies, the supplies that he won on the journey. And everyone is so ecstatic. People are running. I think it was Gabe who ran and jumped and they did a chest bump or something and they were screaming. And the three guys, Kyle, TK, and Gabe go off to the water immediately. And Caroline clocks this. Do you think that Caroline could be worried of like an all guys thing happening and try to fight up against that? Do you think this kind of optics of all three of them in the water at the same time could give off the wrong thing? Cara, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that, I mean, what else are you supposed to think in the first couple of days? Like you see three people bonding in front of everyone. You're going to assume that maybe something's happening there. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like that might stick. But I don't know. I feel like it's valid for Caroline to assume that the guys are going to get together.
Yeah. Timmy, what were your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I agree. I think it makes sense for Caroline to be on the lookout for it because it is so early on and they didn't have to go to tribal council just yet. I don't think she has too much to worry about, and I don't think that she thinks she has too much to worry about, but it's definitely something that I think she's taking note of to keep in mind for the future, for sure.
And also, Gabe found this advantage in front of TK, right? TK didn't see him find it or didn't see him see it, but then when he finds this key, TK does see him find the key, and Gabe's trying to play it off, be like, I can't believe I found the key before the clue. That's crazy. But TK sees right through it. And so I do think that could also be a crack because I do think that maybe these two were a little bit tighter. I know that they were, kind of getting along. And then TK's like, wait, I thought you trusted me, and yet you're not telling me about what's going on. So I do think that there is a rift there, and I'm very interested to see if we see more of that specific rift later on in the season, because you don't want to tell anybody about your idol, but if somebody sees you with it, you're kind of tied to them whether you like it or not. And Gabe is kind of tied to TK in this way because of what's going on. And I also think it kind of forced Gabe's hand to tell Sue too, don't you think?
Yeah. It was kind of funny how he went about it saying like, "Oh, I found the key first before finding anything." Do you think that's even possible out there to find the second step before, or do you think they hide it as someone finds it?
Hmm. I think it might be pre-hidden, but the chances of you looking up on a random off the path to go to the well or wherever, and you just like see up in the sky a key is the chances of it are
That's
not
true.
high. I think it's like if at this point Gabe is a magician and TK walks up to him and Gabe has a rabbit in his hand with a hat on his head. And he's like, "Oh, I wonder where that key, where that rabbit came from. It came from your hat because you have the beware advantage." So I definitely
Yeah.
agree that it was a blunder out there
So
for sure.
you don't think people just look in the bottom of the water well for keys just on their own accord?
Oh my god. Was that the funniest part of the episode?
I can't believe they did that. And now they have to drink that water that
No,
this
that's
man put
wild.
his whole body in.
His whole body. Absolutely gross. Funniest thing ever. That I think that who was that? That was Rome who did that. I think
Yeah.
they need to
Mhm.
blow. I think if I'm Rome, I take that screenshot. I get a huge printout of it. But of it, it's like where he's like very small and
Yeah.
and this is like the art in my living room. And no one knows what this is. They think it's like some abstract thing, but it's actually him digging in a well for for the
Like,
key.
how deep is the well? I guess it's not that deep, right?
How did he get himself back out?
He said on Twitter his armpit was in there, like he was deep in there.
Oh
And
my
I think
god.
when he came up, his hair was wet. Like,
His
so he
His
was pretty
shirt was
deep in the
wet, I'm
hair was
well.
pretty
in it.
sure. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
he was
I
deep
like
in
part of
there.
his shirt was wet. Let's talk about that moment
It's
also
crazy.
because that whole thing. So, to start off, he's looking for this next key, or was it the first key? I think it was the first key for him, right? I think it was the first.
Was it the second maybe?
Second?
It
It
might
could
have
have
been the
been the first,
second.
I'm not sure.
No.
So he's
Mhm.
looking for the key, right? And he's, looking for everything, and he sees he's seen by Asia. Asia walks by, sees what's going on, and what does Asia say? Hey, Mr.
Oh,
Gamer.
hey, Mr. Gamer.
Such a good line. Incredible. She goes back and tells Soul, Teeny, and who was the other person? I forgot about it earlier. It was Soul, Teeny, and
Kashan.
Kishan. Thank you.
Yes.
About what was going on. So they then go on a little hunting trip, and they go and they go into the woods to see if she was like, "Oh, I saw him here and he was doing something here." And they come up to the water well and they see him and he just runs the other way. He doesn't try to do anything. Kara, what is the right thing to do in this situation? Is there a right thing to do, or are you just kind of screwed?
I feel like it's a bad situation no matter what. Confronting them, it's like, that's awkward. Running away, that's also awkward because everyone's seeing you run away. I don't think you can do anything right in that situation besides maybe be a little more discreet when you're looking, which is something I don't think Rome or Gabe were really doing at all.
Yeah,
So
truly. Timmy, what do you think? Is there something that he could have done?
I think he did the best thing he could do was run away. He was screwed either way, as Kara mentioned. I think if he goes up to the tribe soaking wet from his arm, they're gonna be suspicious. But if he runs away, they're also gonna be suspicious. But at least with one of these choices, you're not being interrogated on the spot. So, or at least at that moment, maybe later.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think it was a lose-lose situation for him. I think in a perfect world, he goes back in time and does it at a different point in time. Like
yeah,
but you
True.
can't really also you can't do this
I
one in the
agree.
dark. This is kind of one like it's kind of impossible to
That's
do in the dark
true.
and dangerous to do
Mhm.
in the dark.
Did they
Mhm.
did they see him actually in the well? I don't think
No,
so, right?
they saw
And
him
also,
out of the
like,
well.
you don't wanna, like, tell your whole tribe that your whole body was just in the water that you have to
Also
drink.
true. Also true.
Like,
And somebody in the TikTok comments said using someone you trust as lookout is really smart. And I think that that's
mm,
what production had in mind. I think what production had in
Mhm.
mind is this is something that you have to do with somebody else and you have to have a lookout and you have to they'll maybe put you down in the well or whatever. But Himwe was like, nah, 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 I'm going to do it by myself. I'm going to do it alone. No one will know about it. It'll be so sneaky.
mhm,
Unfortunately, that's not the case.
not
Um,
Mhm.
but he does, is he, so one person has an idol that's good for 3. The other person does not, right?
Rome didn't get it yet, I think, right?
Right. I think
Yeah,
you're right. So Gabe, it has an idol that's good enough for
Idol.
3. Timmy,
yeah.
how do you like how they did this beware advantage? Yay, nay, or neutral?
I think nay, because in these most recent seasons, especially in the new era, we're seeing the life, peak, and death of advantages in Survivor. We saw it at its peak with knowledge is power and so many different other advantages at the beginning of the new era. And 46 was kind of where it went down with you know, having these idols and advantages, but going home with them in your pocket. Now it's like you have to find the beware advantage and go and risk finding it. You find it, and then it's only good for 1 round. You have to go and do that same risk, maybe times 2, because the task is even more public, more visible, just to
Mhm.
extend it for 3 more rounds. If
Mhm.
I'm a player, I don't think it's worth the risk at this point. I might just take the 1 round or the 3 round idle and call it a day, especially because I might not even get the chance to really use it in a big, huge way.
Mhm.
Yep.
Kara, do you agree?
I agree. Well, in general, I'm like, can we just go back to hiding idols? Forget the beware advantage. Like, too many steps, too many things. Like, I just want to see people find idols, and I think that's fun. And like, I agree. Like, if I was in this position, I feel like I would have just taken the idol because the 3, whatever the first one was, because you might not even make it out of this tribe, you know? And then you're still searching for this next thing. You might not get it before you go to tribal, and then you might not have a vote. So I feel like the best thing to do is take it for the 3 rounds, end it there, and then see what happens. But in general, I'm tired of the beware advantages.
Yeah, I'm tired of the beware advantages too. I would love for them to go back to giving us hints to the idols and not people just like
Mm.
going on an idol hunt. I think that is a lot of fun and really good. But I am going to actually have to disagree with both of you. I think
Mm.
that this is my favorite beware advantage. Maybe not favorite, but I like this beware advantage a little bit because you can kind of choose when you're willing to get your vote back. And I think that is
Mm,
an interesting thing. I actually think it's silly that Gabe didn't go for it once again because maybe, I think if I was Gabe and it's before the challenge and I, don't know if we're going to win the challenge or not, I'm going to keep that second key and make a decision a little bit later. I'm going to bury the box. I'm going to think about it. If we're going to tribal, I'm going to take that advantage immediately. It's gone. It's mine. It's in my pocket. I'm going to tribal. Might as well have it. It's not like last season where you don't get the next clue until your group loses a challenge. You can look and they might continue winning,
oh, is
and
that an option? That was an option to,
Yeah,
like,
I was gonna
beware?
say.
'Cause that kind of okay, I guess that kinda changes things
because
if you
it
can
doesn't
make the
there's no
decision after the
deadline.
fact.
There's no
Mm,
deadline. I didn't see, and I could be
See,
wrong. If in the comments, let me know if I'm wrong.
well,
But
I
yeah,
feel like
'cause
there
I
should be.
mhm,
If you get to that point, I feel like you should have to make that decision in that moment and not have the chance to come back to it.
I didn't see the rules saying that you couldn't do that. So if I'm anybody else, maybe
Yeah.
the producers were off to the
yeah.
side saying you got to choose now. Um,
Mm,
but I feel
Mm,
like if it's not written, then why make that decision
why
right then
not?
and there?
Yeah,
I know you don't have a vote, but you don't need a vote until you're at tribal council. So if you're not at tribal
that's
council,
true.
try for the next one. I don't know. That's
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 just that's
true.
true.
just kind of what I would have done.
No, that makes sense. If you have the time to think about it, come back, you win, you have more time, then it makes sense to go for the next one. But if you're in that moment having to decide, then that's different.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure. If you have the chance to, come back later at a different point and you already have it in the back of your mind that I have this as a backup. If I need it, I can really take this risk. Kind of like a different twist on a shot in the dark, but
Mhm.
a way more
mhm.
risky version of it. So if that's the case where you can come back at a later point, I definitely would come back at a later point
Yeah.
to grab it.
So Randy checked us a little bit. I guess Randy is in the comments. Randy said you did have to decide in the moment. So that's good to know. But
Oh.
it doesn't say when you had to open it up. And maybe you didn't know that there was going to be
Mm.
another, thing in there. I don't know. I think if I'm Gabe, and I opened up one already and there was already another box, and then the next one is like, it could be good for 3 tribals. My head, I would be like, of course they're gonna do another one for a full idol. That's what I would say in my head, or at least one for 5. So I don't know. I still think that there is a way for you to be able to do it where it's not, you don't need your vote until you go to tribal council. So that's just
Yeah.
my my thing there. But
So
go ahead, Kara.
no, go ahead.
No,
So
go.
okay, say they go to the next tribal council and Gabe plays it. Do they hide the beware advantage again? Like what happens
Maybe
in
not.
that case?
So what happened with Hunter's tribe? Because Hunter, I think Randon went out with an idol, and when Randon went out when he went out with an idol, oh my goodness, they did rehide a beware advantage, but it was a beware advantage that seemed a lot easier than what Randon initially had to do, if I remember correctly. So I think that they do rehide one. I don't know if they rehide one when they play it. I know that Randon just had one, so
Right.
it kind of depends, I think.
Oh,
But I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Randon went out with the clue.
Yeah, the clue.
He did. That's true. He went out with the clue, not with the idol, but he still lost his vote. So they rehid,
Right.
like, lost his vote.
Yeah.
So, he never got the actual idol because they didn't lose. That's true. So I do want to talk a little bit about Sam. Sam is somebody we haven't talked about a lot yet. He's on the Yellow Tribe. He was somebody who was talked about quite a bit preseason. He's a radio show or not a radio show. He's a sports commentator. He does football. And the thing that really caught my eye about him ahead of time was that he equated himself to Michelle Fitzgerald, which I thought was very interesting. I think not a lot of men go into Survivor and compare themselves to women, which I think is very interesting. And kind of made me really hyped about his game. How are we feeling about Sam so far in this game?
Yeah.
I think Sam is in a good spot. If his tribe is a sandwich, Sam, I think, is the cheese, because you have the bread, one at the top, one at the bottom, the lettuce player who's, maybe the second in charge. Sam, to me, is the cheese in that he's right in the middle. He knew about the alternate plan while also still being included in the majority plan, while also not being the John bottom bread or the Andy meat right under it as well. So,
Yeah, I agree. I think he's very well positioned, and I feel like I didn't expect that going in. I kind of thought that wouldn't be the case, but happy to see it for him. That's great.
Yeah. He's interesting to me because I think that he's doing really well, a little bit better than I had expected. I mean, I had high hopes for him. But he still is doing some things that are catching my eye and could potentially, I think, be taken the wrong way in the future. There was at one point when he was saying how I'm really happy Annika's taking the lead. I did not want to be the one to take the lead. He called himself a wolf in wolf's clothing because of how he looks. And I think that, he just didn't want to be put in that position. But there was at one point when he said, what did he say exactly? It was something like, do you think that we should do a fire? And they're all like, oh yeah, we're actually doing it. And he goes, he said, I love that you guys are proactive enough to think of it on your own.
Yeah, that was a weird
that
thing to say.
And that is something that I think somebody says when they really, really want to take the reins. And they're trying so hard to not tell people what to do. And then they're doing what, you want them to do. So you're like, great, amazing. You're doing the thing that I want you to do without me having to tell you to do it. But I just think that this could be an indicator of Sam's game later on, because this is something that, again, one line kind of just off the cuff and just said it in a moment. But I think that this kind of shows that Sam really does want to lead, really does want to take the reins. And I think this could be maybe a problem for him in the future. Timmy, did you notice that? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I noticed it too. If I'm the other tribe mates in this situation, I'm thinking, are you congratulating me for having brain cells to know that we need a shelter and we need a fire? So it definitely goes to show that he already has in his mind the things that need to be done or the game that he wants to play, but it's just holding back, like a clown car, you know, just waiting to explode or divvy out directions to his tribe mates or allies about where to vote. So I think that clown car is going along steady on the road of Survivor this first round, but we don't know if the doors will fly open and all the clowns will come out and all the Sam is going to come out and direct the game.
I think that's totally true. Cara, what are you thinking about that moment? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like that moment, I feel like him saying that kind of comes off a little condescending, like, I feel like if someone said that to me, I'd be like, "Oh, you didn't think I could think of making fire out here? Like, why not?" Like, I feel like that was just a weird way to phrase that, and I feel like he could have phrased it better and it would have changed the way people thought about it,
Mhm.
but I don't know, I'm interested to see, like, where he goes from here because I feel like he is in a good position currently.
Yeah. Now
Mhm.
let's talk about, obviously let's talk about we're not really going to get into the challenge per se, but classic challenge, red dominates. Really, we don't even see them do the puzzle because they're
The
so far
puzzle.
ahead. It was boats kept flipping over. It was a hard watch because of that. I was like, what's going on? And then we see what happens to Andy. He wasn't doing the puzzle, so Jeff didn't need to stop the challenge. It looked like he was just kind of overheating, maybe dealing with some anxiety. But he kept saying they were going to vote me out. They are going to vote me out. Andy very much felt like he was on the outs. And this was difficult to watch because it felt like he was already resigned to his fate in the moment, which may not have been the case. Maybe he's just like the worst fears bubbling up because he's dealing with this. But then they do go on to lose the challenge. And then he, basically spills out everything that he was thinking on the mat. Timmy, what were your thoughts when this was happening? Anything that you were, worried about or what, just tell me what your thoughts were in general.
Yeah, so as I'm watching pre-loss, when Andy is off to the side and is overheated at this point, I'm sympathizing with him and kind of feeling bad in the situation that he's in, especially when it comes to his anxiety, because at this point, his entire tribe is like a choir and they're all singing together and everything is going good. But for some reason, he feels like the entire theater goes dark and the spotlight is just on him. And that's what the paranoia and the anxiety in the game of Survivor did to him in that moment, to make him feel like he's a solo performer when in the game he wasn't at all at that point. But to pivot when he was on the mat and he decided to call out the fact that, hey, John is my best friend, but I'm also gonna throw John under the bus, or I wanted to throw John under the bus. I was shocked. I feel like I was more shocked as a viewer than the other tribe mates on the mat because I never expected it. It's as if he was in that choir, he took his music stand and he just like threw it to the crowd and just destroyed everything. So it's a tale of two Andys. And I sympathize and I also am shocked by him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cara, what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I was so surprised. I did not expect, like, anything like this from Andy. Like, I feel like I just thought I don't know, like, I don't know, I just wasn't expecting it, but I understand, like, for sure when you're out there, like, I would 100% believe that you're paranoid, like, all the time, that people are plotting against you. You're gonna be the first boot, you know? So I feel like it's valid. And then, I don't know, like, you guys feel like Jeff was egging him on to keep talking, trying to get him to say things? Because I feel like Jeff coulda just ended it, not
I
been like, "How are
I
you
kind of
feeling?"
see
And
that.
then
And I also think like there is this thing, and I don't know if you guys have ever felt this before, but when you're kind of in like a group of people and somebody, asks you a question or whatever, and you're saying your answer and then you're done, but then nobody says anything afterwards,
Mhm.
you're like, oh my God, wait, am I supposed to keep talking? And then you keep talking, but it wasn't originally what you had planned to say. And so you just
Mhm.
keep talking. And then all of a sudden you're talking about, the time when you were a kid and you scraped your knee and you don't know why you did that. And then you were
Yeah.
crying and your parents were screaming. And you're like, wait, I just wanted to talk about, the baseball game. And all of a sudden I'm in, this tangent about my childhood. And so,
Yeah.
I kind of do feel like what I know what you mean, Cara, where it did
Mhm.
kind of, he just was like kind of quiet and looking at him and sometimes egging him on a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I felt
and
bad that, like, Jeff was even asking him questions after that, like, just let the guy, like, rest for a minute. Like, he just had a whole moment. Like, he doesn't
Yeah.
need to be quizzed now. You, like, just let it be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right, and it was and I don't know, I was shocked by what happened, but I also totally get it because, again,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I have been in situations like that where it's just like word vomit that just comes out
Mhm.
of your mouth and you look back and you're like, "What did I just say?" It's almost like you black out and you're like, "I don't know who that person was over there, but it
Yeah.
really was not what I meant to do." And
Mhm.
maybe he did mean to do it. Maybe I'm completely wrong and he totally meant to do it, but it was just kind of like truly a shocking moment, a memorable premiere moment, which I feel like is
For
definitely going to be
sure.
something that's talked about for a while. I will say, I don't know if you know this, Rachel afterwards or noticed this, but Rachel afterwards was like, no one has ever had a breakdown in front of everyone before, ever. And I'm like, I don't, have you not been watching the same show? Did you watch last season? Because I'm pretty sure the last episode they saw
Yeah.
was Liz's breakdown in front of everybody. Like, I think it's the last thing they saw. And I'm like, I think you might be wrong on that. I think it's happened once or twice,
Mhm.
maybe
Mhm.
3 times.
Yeah.
And he's not the first and he will not be the last. It is
Nope.
Yeah.
Survivor after all. And what did Jeff say? He said, if you want something soft, pick another show.
I was like, Sassy Jeff is here to stay. I
Mhm.
was like, okay, Jeff, you're right. It's
Literally.
definitely Survivor.
True.
Definitely Survivor.
I also thought it was so cute when obviously she doesn't remember Brandon Hance. Truly. I mean, that wasn't a meltdown, that was a calm conversation, Randy. Very calm. Nothing crazy happened there. No, but I thought it was so cute when Andy was lying down on the ground and then Jeff was there and they were holding hands and Andy goes, "Love you, Jeff." And then Jeff goes, "Love you, man." Oh, it was so cute. I want to
Mm,
say love you to Jeff.
right?
Yeah.
I
We love
just
you,
feel
Jeff.
bad that yeah. Love you, Jeff. I just feel bad that Andy had, like, that happen to him because, like, like, I'm pretty sure, like, he was, like, an alternate or something for 45 or 46 or something where he was
Mhm.
supposed to be on another season, and then, I don't know, he probably had it so hyped up in him that he's finally getting on, and then to be so, like,
No.
paranoid and everything, like,
Yeah.
it was
And
probably
here's the
all just, like,
thing. I don't
good.
know, did you guys notice I did see things between tribe mates on the L tribe to feel the why he would be paranoid.
Mhm.
Did you catch on any of these things? Because I did see some interactions where if I were Andy, I would have maybe been like, "Oh, wait, am I on the outs?" Like, I feel like that whole interaction where he was anxious at night, where he was talking to Rachel, and I get
Mhm.
Rachel doesn't wanna be, I don't wanna be seen as, like, his number 2, and
Mhm.
I totally understand that. But also, if I'm having like an anxiety, maybe not anxiety attack or maybe not a panic attack, but just having something inside me where I need to talk to somebody about it. Um, and they go, "We can't be seen together. Stop talking to me. What is going on?" And she didn't say it like that exactly, but just having that
Yeah.
initial reaction,
Yeah.
I might think, "Oh my god, I'm on the outs. I can't. No one even wants to talk to me at all." Um,
Yeah.
and there might have been other instances. Timmy, do you feel like there's like something like that too?
Yeah, I think that moment is a big one that stood out to me because if he's feeling emotional, he's not even thinking about the game right now. He just wants to talk to somebody. So for him, that game mode of Rachel, which she might be right in her own right to not want to have that conversation at that moment, but for him, it is a rejection.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
like he just lost his job. He's trying to come home and he finds out the door is locked because Rachel closed it in his face.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's a tough feeling to have,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and that would make you in that situation feel like your game is done and you're on the
Yeah.
outs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw on 46, like, how Kenzie was there for Ben and how
Mhm.
Charlie was there for Ben and all of that. So you see, like, how, like, just being there for someone in a moment like that could really change your game. It could be a big thing, not to, like, make it gamey because someone's, like, is going through something, so, like, you're
Mhm.
actually there for, like, you're actually comforting that person and, like, not, but, everyone's always
Yeah.
thinking about the game, but, like,
Yeah.
I feel like Rachel could have gone about it differently and just been there for him in that
Mhm.
moment, and then if someone asks her about it, just be honest, like, he was going through something, he is someone to talk to, and I was there for him.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I saw somebody in the comments on TikTok saying if Andy had opened up to the tribe when that was happening, it might have been a little bit different. And I think that
That's
that
true.
could also be the case. So I think what Rachel's fear was, which I do understand is like a legitimate fear. You don't want to be paired with
Yeah.
somebody who you don't really want to
Mhm.
work with. And we've seen people get like, I don't know why I'm paired with this person and please unpair us. Like we've seen that
Mhm.
before in the past. And you know, I totally get it. So if Andy, I think honestly, if Andy had just and I'm a Monday night, quarterback or whatever they say. I'm a whatever it is. But if Andy hindsight's 2020, that's what I was looking for. If Andy was able to just be like, hey guys, I needed some time alone. Can somebody come with me to the beach? I just am feeling I can't sleep. It might have been maybe Rachel would have acted differently, but when you're dealing with this kind of stress and emotion, you can't really think. You're not really thinking straight. You're not really thinking about it all in
Yeah.
the full picture. So you kind of got to do what you got to do. But I do want to talk about this vote out.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I want to gauge both of your ideas on, do we think getting out John was the right thing for this tribe? I'll let you think about it for a second because I still am kind of waffling between yes and no. Because while I do think that John is incredibly smart and he does know politics and he does know all of this other stuff, he knows how to talk, he has the gift of the gab. I think that like maybe, and I think that they're trying to avoid what happened with Purple last season, where they got out Jelinski first, and then they needed somebody with a big wingspan and who was kind of strong the next one,
Mhm.
and then it kind of snowballed.
Mhm.
But I kind of think that I could see it being good for anybody with voting out Annika, with voting out Andy, and with voting out John. I see pros and cons to each, so I'm still kind of like I don't know. So, Cara, I'll start with you. What are you thinking?
Mm.
How did you take this vote out?
Like, I kinda get it. I feel like it was I don't think it was the worst move because we know he can speak very well, and if he ends up getting to the end, I feel like he could speak like, he would probably have a great final tribal council speech, answers, everything. But, I mean, I guess he wasn't really able to talk himself out of this situation, which wasn't great. But, I don't know, I kinda feel like unfortunate that it was John because I feel like that was very unexpected, and, like, it would've been fun to see how he would've progressed in the game. I don't think it was the worst move for them, though.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think it was the wrong move for them because
Ooh.
Andy put on such a show in front of the entire game,
Mhm.
all the
Mhm.
players. It makes everybody else on that tribe stand out more so than Andy because when you come back next episode to the mat, they're like, this guy is still here. And they're either seeing you as super strategic players who are trying to carry him through the game, which
Ooh,
is not
interesting.
great if a
Yeah.
swap or whenever merge happens. And
Mhm.
then also on the flip side, that might make you seem as if you don't have what it takes to be a great ally in the future. If you're keeping somebody along who might sabotage your own game, like he sabotaged John's game,
Mhm.
it's as if you're an animal and Andy, as a character on the show, is a tick. He latched onto John in that moment, right? The character of Andy latched onto him and got all the blood out of him and let John leave out that door. What makes you think that tick is going to turn into your best friend and turn into a dog and be your best friend through life? Who's to say that he might not do the same thing that happened with John to
Mhm.
happen to you? So
Yeah.
for those reasons, I think it might not have been the best move for them to keep him in the
Yeah.
game.
Yeah, I see both sides. Like selfishly, I'm really happy Andy is still in, but also selfishly, I'm really sad that John is gone. Like I really think that John is a really incredible personality. I think he
Mhm.
gives great confessionals. I think he is a really good storyteller. I think that I think that there was a lot that we could have seen from him. I think it would have been amazing to see him on a swap tribe trying to like wheel and deal with people. And I really think that we missed out on some really amazing gameplay having him gone early. That being said, I do think he made a mistake, when there is a person that everyone is talking about. I get the idea of trying to save somebody that trusts, you know, that trusts you and wants to work with you. But, you know, Sandra won twice for a reason. Anybody but me. Anybody,
Mhm.
and then figure it out later. And I get the idea of like wanting to make a bigger move and getting out somebody else. But sometimes the best thing for you to do is say, hey, you know what? Let's do it. That's fine.
Actually, the first one.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think that that's interesting. But then I will also say I do see the benefit of keeping Andy, because on the flip side of what you said to me,
Mhm.
he put a target on himself in front of everybody. So if you do go to a swap and say you're swapped and Andy is also there, you know, you can be like, hey guys, you saw firsthand he threw his number one under the bus. You know, I can't trust him. The only reason why we kept him is because of the strength. I'm worried about him. We can get him out. Let's get him out. And it's kind of an easy person to throw under the bus, you know,
That's fair.
kind of if you need to, a good shield, if you will. So I see it both ways.
Yeah. The only thing I fear is the Q effect, where you keep pushing off. We're gonna get him out next round. We're gonna get him out next round. We're gonna get him
Yeah.
out next round.
True.
But then it's you this round.
Yep.
So I would be
Mhm.
wary as a player. I would be wary.
I think you're totally right. And I think, you know, he should have done anybody but me instead of anybody but me or Andy. Exactly. But I think you're totally right. I think, you know, at one point, that's how people who kind of fly under the radar get far through in the game, because they fly under the radar. And it's just, we'll get them later. We'll get them later. And then all of a sudden it's final three and you're on the jury and they're over there, you know? So this is why Survivor is a very, very interesting game. Now, we covered a lot. This was a big episode. It was 2 hours. There's so much to talk about when it comes to the premiere, because there's just so much going on and we're meeting so many new people. Cara, I'll start with you. Is there anything in the episode that we didn't cover that you want to make sure that we talk about before we get to commercial and questions and all of that good stuff?
Hmm.
Oh my god, I can't think of anything. Come back to me. Go to
Okay.
Timmy.
Timmy, did you have anything that you wanted to talk about before we get to the commercial and everything?
Yes, we touched on it briefly, but a great strategic move I think that happened socially was Teeny saying, we're not going to give away this fourth spot in our lives just yet. We're going to save it for Asia. And that was just super smart to me, super clever. So I just wanted to touch on that very briefly.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. And I think that that's another thing. I think that was kind of risky. And yet I think because Teeny is who they are, I feel like they got away with it. You know, they can, like, Teeny can do these things that I feel like other people can't really get away with. I think day two, if somebody's like, all right, I've got a three, my first instinct is, yeah, let's do it. Let's go. I don't care who else is there. Let's just make something happen. But
Mhm.
because Teeny is Teeny, you know, she was able to just like, you know, make something happen and say, let's meet Asia. Let's see what's going to
Mhm.
happen. And it really worked out, I think, for Asia and also for Teeny. So I think it's a great thing to talk about.
Yeah.
Cara, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on
Hmm.
anything else we didn't touch on?
I don't know, I guess we touched on it, but, like, I just feel like I was so surprised that, like, going like, after seeing this episode and all the preseason hype around Asia and Andy and John, and then to see them all kind of just do, like, things you wouldn't expect in this episode, I just found, like, insane. Like, it was so unexpected, everything that happened, like,
My
you
jaw was
would've
on the
like
floor for 2 hours.
yeah, no, literally, like, I feel like everything was just not what I expected. Like, I never thought John was gonna be the first boot, and before, like, even the episode and, like, going into it, I was, like, looking at his social media to see if he's been posting about Survivor, and I didn't even see him post anything on his feed about it, which I was like, "That's kinda weird." And then
Hmm.
to see him be the first boot, I'm like, "Okay, I guess it makes sense."
So it's actually really interesting. Yeah, I would highly recommend listening to RHAP has some really good exit interviews. And that's where I always go for my exit interview. And Rob was talking to, you know, John about this, and he was like,
Mm.
so have we lost you forever? Are you gone? Is this Survivor fandom dead to you now? And he was like, absolutely not. I'm in it. I love Survivor. Now that people know that I watch Survivor, am I bummed that I was out in one episode? Yes. But then he was like, but I've got so much more to say. I've got so much more to, I want to say some more. I want to play more. And so, you know, Jeff loves him. So I do think that I think and I'm gonna make a TikTok about this soon. Actually, I made it. I just haven't posted it yet. I think that this is the door that everyone has wanted for such a long time to get a first boot season. I personally don't really care if we get a first boot season. I want a pre-merge season, but with John Lovett being the first boot, and Jeff has said over and over again, there's never going to be a first boot season. I think this is the kind of kick to make it happen, because we've had so many compelling first boots, not only in the new era, but just kind of in general. I think that they could come up with 16, 18 first boots to do a first boot season. And I think this might be the kick that they needed to even think about. So, pros and cons to John Lovett being off first.
Yeah.
For sure. It's some pre-merge legends I want to see return.
I mean, Reem, are you chicken? I'm just like, thinking of some people. Mari, great. I mean, there are a lot of amazing first boots, but we are about to get into the question time of the podcast. So make sure to leave any questions you may have about this episode in the comments of either TikTok or on the YouTube, and we will get to them right after these messages or this message.
Hi, Survivor Now podcast listeners. I am Katie from KT Designs, better known as Katie Tedesco Art on both Instagram and Etsy. I have been designing and selling Survivor products for over 7 years at my Etsy shop, including replicas like hidden immunity idols and Survivor trading cards with all of the players' stats on the back. I am so grateful for Survivor Now for giving me this shout out and helping me reach even more superfans. I love listening to their podcast. So if you are looking for some really unique reality TV products for yourself or to give a superfan in your life, come check out my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/KatieTedescoArt.com.
Amazing. Thank you, Katie Tedesco, as always. But it is time for Social Hour. Make sure if you have any questions, put them in the chat. But we did get some questions ahead of time. So let's just start with some of these. This is from somebody. We got this ahead of time, but this person is also in the comments, which is incredible. Chris sent in this question for Tim. Who stole the bacon this week?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that's for me, the person who stole the bacon has to be okay. The person who stole the bacon for me has to be Sue. Sue just integrated herself so well, was able to collaborate on finding a Beware advantage while also creating a great bond with Caroline, while also beasting it in the challenge. I think people underestimated Sue, but Sue was right under your nose and stole that bacon from you.
Incredible. Incredible. There's also one for Cara. Cara, how good did it feel to not get your winner pick sent home first?
Oh my gosh. It felt really good. But also, I was really nervous when the Yellow Tribe lost. I literally, I was going through it. I was, so stressed that it was going to happen again. And I'm just very happy it didn't.
But it didn't.
And, this is a good time to point out that the Survivor Now draft, we kind of predicted the first boot by no one picking John and him being the one.
The very last.
Sorry, John, but the very last person to go on a team.
Yep. Yeah, no one picked John. Ollie ended up with John, which is just incredible. Now we have a question on the TikTok comments. Carded Droid asks, thoughts on the Beware box in the box. Which idol is worth the risk? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think that none of the idols are worth the risk. I would not even take the Beware advantage, but if I had taken it, I think I would go all the way. Cara, what would you do?
I would take it, and I think I would stop at the first stop, the 3 idol or the 3 tribal thing, whatever.
Timmy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm definitely stopping once I get it for 3 rounds. That's good enough for me.
Okay. Incredible. I really don't think if I saw Beware Advantage, I'd be like, bye. They were all like, I don't even read the Beware. I only read the Advantage. I'm like, I do not read Advantage. I only read Beware. Have a good night. I'll see you later. Like, that's
But
what
then
I
someone
read.
else is gonna get it.
That's a-okay. I don't need that. I've got my social bonds. That's good. I'll figure it
Okay.
out later on. I don't need it in pre-merge. I'm okay. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. We have another question in the comments on TikTok. Amanda asks, "What's the name of this pod? I want to follow." Amanda, this is Survivor Now. On the Survivor Now network, it's called Survivor Social. You can follow us on Spotify and on YouTube. So you should do that. Shout out to Amanda. We had this question sent in. Buffs and Scrubs out or sent. Final outcome. Do you love it or do you leave it? I love it. I love it. Love it.
Some people like it, but I love it.
That was perfect.
Cara,
There's nothing else
perfect.
to add.
Amazing. We have a question on the TikTok live. Aurora asks, how do you feel about the difference from the traditional sweat versus savvy task? We did talk about this a little bit earlier, but how did you, I mean, which is the one you prefer? Cara, do you prefer this one or the old one?
I like this.
This?
I like what they did this time better. But I did see someone post, like, I think it was a tweet or something, and they were like, they liked the change of the sweat and savvy, but like they were like, there's too much hunting going on, too much running around. Like, make it simpler.
I get that.
And that makes sense. There was a lot of running around.
What about you?
I kind of like sweat versus savvy more.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think with that added element of choice, and also you're not completely away from your tribe, maybe the players have a better chance to do something interesting versus the manhunt for the key.
Yeah, I don't think if I can choose this, but I like neither. I would just like for there to be a first and a second place, and then people just don't get something, and that's okay. I feel like you can condense it, have it one big thing, and you're done, and then do more stuff later. That's what I would
agree.
do. Okay, we have this other question that was sent in from Chris again. Do we think Rome can recover from his shenanigans? If he's he'll shenan again.
I think he'll have to work on yes. I think he needs to work on his social game a little bit, and then he can recover.
Yeah. I wish and I hope that Rome can recover because I'm rooting for Rome. But I'm maybe 61% sure he might recover. So there's hope, there's possibility, but I don't know.
I think if they lose this next challenge, I think it's Rome. I think if Rome has time, maybe, but if it's an immediate thing, I worry about him. I actually have a question from me. This kind of goes on the same thing. How do we feel about Andy's longevity in the game? Do we think it's going to be like maybe like a Brandon Donlin where, he was rough in the first episode and then immediately gets voted out the next episode? Or what do you guys think? Do you think he can make it out of this?
Yeah, I really think it's all going to depend on how he acts post John going and how he interacts with the tribe. I think there's a world where he flips it completely around and he goes far. I think it just all depends on how he goes about it.
Yeah. Timmy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that Andy can go really far in the game, and I think he actually will go pretty far in the game. To me, Andy's game started off rough, but like a penny rolling down a hill, it's gonna gain that momentum and it's gonna keep going and keep going and keep going until somebody stops it. And I don't think Andy plans on stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, I think the big difference here, and I'm not saying that Brandon didn't say the same thing, but like, because Brandon was like, I'm gonna you can vote me out. I'm not going to quit. But Andy was like, yeah, I'm in the game. This is Survivor. I had a rough moment. I'm in the game. I'm going to keep going. And I think Annika was like, if you're having a breakdown on day 3, what's going to happen the rest of it? I think that's the time people are going to have breakdowns. I think it's very likely that people are going to have a breakdown the first, second, third day, and then realize, hey, I can actually do this. I'm adjusting. I'm ready to move forward. And they actually do really well. I feel like it's way less likely for people to break down on day 25 than it is, super early on. I mean, people break down whenever they're going to, but
I agree.
I think he's going to make it through this as long as Yellow does not lose. I think if Yellow loses, I think Andy's days are numbered. And those numbered days are 1 because I think he's getting voted out that night. I love him, but that's just what I worry about. But I think if they win this next challenge, even if they lose the next one, I think he might be fine.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think he might be okay. But also just back to Rome for a second. I think if he does get the idol, I think if they go to tribal, he's going to play it anyway. So I think he'll be fine and then recover from there.
That would be incredible. I would love that. We have this question from Chris. Do we think anyone this season will make a Jelinski several reference? I'm shocked they haven't done so already.
I know. I thought Jeff would immediately be like, welcome to Survivor 40 several.
I mean, they all saw it. They know
up.
what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I think so. It might have already happened, and the editor is just in the back room, just like doing overtime, cutting every several reference until the final several, maybe, or something. But it's bound to happen. Let's connect the seasons to each other. Let's keep this Survivor multiverse going.
Absolutely.
And keep Jelinski alive for sure.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Incredibly. I absolutely. We do have a question on the TikTok. Amanda asks, do you guys like the shot in the dark? Timmy, I'll start with you on this question.
I love the shot in the dark. I wish more players would use the shot in the dark. I think so many different creative, unique ways that can be done with it that we haven't seen yet. And I'm so excited to maybe see it played in a creative way. Since the new era, we've seen it around and we've had a couple different people play it. Only one person successfully play it. But what would it look like if the odds are 1 out of 6? What would it look like if you say all 6 of us, let's just play our shot in the dark and see what happens? It's so many different possibilities, so many different things that can be done, so much potential in this advantage. So John love it. John love the advantage.
John love it. That's so funny. Cara, what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I don't mind it. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I just don't mind it, I mean, I like that they get the players get one last chance to save themselves before possibly being voted off. So I like it.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I really like the fact that I was talking about this with somebody last night, like how I like in this season of Big Brother, where the thing that I didn't like in other seasons of Big Brother is that when you're on the block, there's nothing really you can do to get yourself off the blocks except for the one veto. And I like how this season there were 2 times to just get off the block. Not anymore, but there was. And I think, when it comes to Survivor, I like giving people a way out that's not guaranteed, but it also scares other people. We saw that play last season on 46 where they gave Jess a fake idol. They didn't do it to be mean. They didn't do it because they wanted to be like, haha, fake idol, loser. They didn't do that. That's not why they did it. They did it because they didn't want her to play the shot in the dark. And the thing that 46 saw before it, I think it was what they saw before they left. Maybe I could be wrong, but it hit in 45 and it's a small chance, but it is a very real chance. And if that happens, you have to figure something else out. And so I do think it adds a little something to the game. And I've also liked how in the past we've seen people use it as currency, be like, hey, I trust you. I'm not going to use my shot in the dark. And they give it to somebody being like, hey, I promise you, I'm not going to use it. I'm voting with you guys. And they give them the shot in the dark. And so I think it adds a very interesting dynamic to voting and to, the game of Survivor. And it's one of the twists in the new era that I am a wholehearted stan. Stan. So, All right. Thank you, everybody, for sending in questions. Next week, when you want to send in questions, if you have any questions about the episode, you can send them into our what's it called, email, or you can send it into the Survivor Now Instagram as well. We love taking the questions ahead of time. But now it is time to get to Cara's sweet thing of the episode.
That's so cute.
Cara, why don't you tell listeners who don't know what the sweet thing is?
Okay, so I host a podcast with my cousin Kateri called the Sweet Things Podcast, and at the end of every episode, we give our sweet thing of the week, which is usually like a candy, a food, a drink, some type of thing that we liked that week. So with Survivor, it's a little different because the food options are limited, but we just pick a thing that we liked in the episode. So my sweet thing this episode was the Immunity Idol figures. I thought they were just so cute, just like little statues. I love them. So cute.
I almost went with that one too. My sweet thing of the episode is a moment, and that moment is when Gabe's box fell like down the cliff, and everyone heard it. I thought that was very funny. It made me smile, and that was my sweet thing of the episode. Timmy, what was your sweet thing of the episode?
My sweet thing of the episode was when Rome was watering the tree trunk and Asia walks along and says, "Hey, Mr. Gamer." I thought the way that she said that was just so adorable, so cute, so harmless. It's just such a funny, loving moment.
So good. Chris's sweet thing for the week is Survivor Now, because it was great to have it back.
Aw.
Oh, that's so
Aw.
nice. It is good to be back. It feels so good to be back talking with you, Cara, about this, and talking to you, Timmy. It's just like Survivor is back. It makes me so happy. But now it's to the time in our episode where we give out the all important award, the social butterfly. Now, if you don't know, the Social Butterfly Award is awarded to the person that we think had the best social game this episode. Now, in the future, when we talk about other episodes, it's not going to be the best social game overall. It's just how we felt like people did in this episode. Obviously, there's nothing really to compare it to because it's the first episode. But Cara, I'll start with you. What is your who do you think wins and why the Social Butterfly for today, for this episode?
So my person this episode, I'm going with Sam because I feel like he really positioned himself well on the Yellow Tribe, and like he was in the middle of both of the guys and the girls, and I feel like that was the best spot to be in that first vote. So I'm giving it to Sam.
Incredible. I have got to give it to Sue this episode. Sue really just people came to her, they found her out, and she did a lot with it. And I think that is really incredible and shows that she has not only the physical strength, but the social strength. I think that there is, people her age a lot of times will be pigeonholed into the mother. And while I do think that might be happening in a small way with Caroline, I just feel like she is able to use these bonds and grow, and I really feel like these are going to help her through the episode. Dakota, I agree with you. All right, Timmy, are you going to break the tie or are you going to go with somebody new?
I'm going with somebody new because my player who's the social butterfly and wins the social butterfly award is Teeny. I think in this episode, Teeny was the social butterfly at the very first bloom in spring when the breeze is blowing, because they maneuvered in their tribe gracefully. They made so many different tiny strategic moments, from saving a spot for Asia to connecting with everyone, to where people in the tribe said, "I love Teeny a lot. I really like Teeny." So I think that is what gives Teeny the award for me.
Incredible. I think that we saw a lot of really good social strategy this episode. I feel like that really what the first episode is. It's basically all social. And so I think that there was a lot of good social. So let us know in the comments of either TikTok or YouTube or wherever you're watching who you agree with. Do you think it was Sue? Do you think it was Sam? Or do you think it was Teeny? Because I think that there's no wrong answer. I think that they were all really incredible this episode. I do want to thank everybody so much for tuning in tonight to Survivor Now and Survivor Social. It's so much fun to talk Survivor with you all. As always, I like to end the episode just with, where people can find our panel other than on Survivor Social. Cara, I'll start with you. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Sweet Things Podcast on Instagram, and from there you can find my episodes and everything else about me. So
incredible.
That's the best spot.
When do you film your other podcast?
Episodes come out on Thursdays, just like this. So
Thursday is
a lot of Cara
day. You can do Cara morning, noon, and night on Thursdays. She is just in your ear the whole day. Timmy, where can people find you? What is your outlet?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at TimSagramB. You can also find me on the BriceandWen Present page, especially with 47 happening. I'll be making more and more content there, and also have a Survivor podcast of my own at Still the Bacon Podcast over on Instagram as well. So any of those three, you can find me, Timmy.
Incredible. I thought this was so much fun talking with you both. Thank you so much for taking the time and talking with us today, Timmy. It was just a blast. I mean, we both were at the Bryce and Wen event last night, which was so much fun. So we were able to talk about the episode last night. And I know that you're going to go to some this season as well. So, if you've never been to a Bryce and Wen Presents party, people out there, you should go. They're a lot of fun. But definitely go check out his content on Bryce and Wen's Instagram, Bryce and Wen Present Instagram. It's very fun, very good. Just as a reminder, we do have other Survivor Now shows happening this week. Tomorrow we've got Survivor Stock Watch. It's the premiere episode of the week. Obviously, the premiere happened. That's going to be at noon tomorrow, so make sure to check it out. Add that reminder on YouTube. Very big episode. Got something for you on Saturday is with Jam. Oh my gosh. It's going to be so much fun. I cannot wait to listen to that. That's at 3 p.m. if you want to watch live. But as always, you can, like and subscribe to Survivor Now on YouTube and Spotify to go watch it and listen to it again. Again, thank you so much to everyone who listened. We're so excited to talk about episode 2 with you next week. So keep an eye out for that. And remember to stay social, everybody. Have a great night.